welcome. Thank you for joining me at the table. I'm Thomas Dodderwick, and it's nice to be back in the host seat. I appreciate our guest this week, who took over for me last week, Becky. And this week, I have the opportunity of interviewing her about our annual Catholic Appeal. Becky, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk about our 2024 annual Catholic Appeal.
Hard to believe it's already that time of year, but it sure is.
It absolutely is. It feels like we were just wrapping up and talking about all of our accomplishments, and now it's time to announce the next one and kick it off and get going once again.
Let's talk a little bit about why it is so early. We do see some changes. Normally people aren't hearing about this till March or at least late into February. Why are we hearing about it so early? Why are we kicking off now?
2 years ago, we made the change from our care and share approach to the annual Catholic Appeal. And part of the feedback that we received from churches is that they didn't want any of those big weekends of the appeal to conflict with events of Lent, with the scrutinies, with anything like that. And they really wanted just a standard day that we would always start the appeal. And so in looking at the calendar, we figured out that the first weekend of February as a kickoff for the annual Catholic Appeal actually lined up really nicely. And so we are always going to be starting on the first weekend of February.
So if the appeal starts on the first weekend of February, why am I interviewing you today? And we're going to have what's called Announcement Weekend coming this weekend.
That's right. So Announcement Weekend is just to get everybody ready and everybody looking for their appeal materials. And so 2 weeks prior to our Commitment Weekend, we do an Announcement Weekend just to let everybody know, hey, the appeal is coming up. You're about to get the letter from the bishop in the mail, so make sure you're watching for that because we don't want anybody to miss it.
Sure.
And then just to prepare everybody to bring their commitment card to Mass, to come prepared to start focusing during our appeal. We're going to focus on a new theme this year, and so we just like to have a weekend where we can do all of that.
Just to be clear, for folks that might be watching it today, they shouldn't have already gotten anything, so they shouldn't panic if they've not seen something.
Not yet. Not yet. Our goal is for you to actually receive it that last weekend of January. However, if mail is moving fast, you might get it next week. And so we announced 2 weeks early just to make sure that you don't miss it. We want to make sure everybody gets their packet.
And so let's talk about what this year's campaign looks like. What is our theme, and what kind of things do we expect out of it this year?
Well, this year we kind of had a cool opportunity. This is the first year that Bishop Fleming is leading the diocese as our ordinary bishop. And so we decided we were going to use his Episcopal motto as the annual Catholic Appeal theme. So our theme this year for 2024 is Go Make Disciples. And we are super excited about having that opportunity to really marriage this in with what his message is to the diocese and really talk about how we all have the opportunity to go make disciples.
We're focusing more than just often we think of what we're doing in church and at Mass. Really, this message is beyond what we're doing at Mass and in church. Is that right?
It is. And it actually is beyond just the appeal itself. And that's what I love about this new approach, is that in the past, we really the appeal was focused solely on, can we bring in the money that we need to support the ministry work of the diocese. Now we're actually wanting people to think about the message as well. It's not just, are you going to send in your money and your commitment and your pledge? We actually, we do need those. We do need those commitments. So please don't misunderstand that. But we also want people thinking about a message. Last year we talked about we are an offering and how everything that we do in our lives is an offering back to God. This year we're really focused on that mission of go make disciples, and it goes far beyond the church. We want people to realize each of us can do that. Like, that's a foreign concept to me, Thomas. For me to think that I can help go make disciples, I just think all the time, like, am I Catholic enough? I don't know how to do this. Like, I'm not that religious, or I don't know enough, or I'm not in religious life. I haven't studied that. And I've really learned in working with the diocese, working with you, working with Bishop Fleming, working with Bishop Warfel prior to his retirement, that I can make a difference. And every single one of us can make a difference. Whether it's smiling at somebody at Mass so that they feel a little more welcome, or maybe even inviting somebody to come to Mass with me. Maybe it's supporting St. Thomas Summer Camp, because if I give a scholarship, a kid that might not have been able to go can go. And in that way, I'm contributing to help make a disciple, even if I'm not actually involved person to person. And so when you start looking at how can I help to make disciples, how can I help spread the word of Catholicism and just of God's love, I mean, what an awesome responsibility and privilege.
It really is. And the way that I think you nailed it right on the head about people think that they're not holy enough or religious enough, and that simply isn't true. I mean, look at all the lovely folks at every parish who are catechists and volunteer their time. Now, that's not for everybody, and so we do need people to give us financial contributions to look at the bigger picture, which means that we have to have a goal, because we need to know what we're going to spend that money on.
Right.
What is our goal this year? And can you name just a couple of ministries? You mentioned St. Thomas, but can you name a couple of other ministries that do help go make disciples out of that goal?
Absolutely. So our goal continues to be 1.7 million. And I'm really proud of the fact that we haven't increased that goal. We talk about this as stewardship, and we want to be good stewards of the money that people are donating to us. And so right now we are able to maintain with the 1.7 million. That said, we do actually need to meet that goal, which we can talk about later, but we do need to meet the goal of 1.7. Our budget is based on 1.7, but it has not increased. So I'm really proud of that fact. Some of the things that it goes to support is the office of the bishop. Unfortunately, he doesn't get gas for free. He doesn't get his tires rotated for free. It does cost money for him to be able to do his ministry, but it also supports our deacons and our priests. It helps to support Montana Catholic Conference and Catholic Social Services of Montana. They both are supported through this. Our Catholic schools. We actually pay for the commissioner of Catholic schools and then offer some support to the schools with human resources support, legal support if they need it. And the annual Catholic Appeal supports that. Now, it still supports all those regular ministries that people are used to, right? So it supports evangelization. It helps support our youth, young adult, and family ministry, supports the tribunal. It pays for the harvest that everybody gets 6 times a year. We also have done things like Formed, and even this work with At the Table, that's supported through those annual Catholic Appeal contributions.
Let's just name the elephant in the room.
Okay.
A lot of people are concerned that the money might go to lawsuits and different things like that. Do the annual Catholic Appeal dollars go to those kind of things?
No, none of the annual Catholic Appeal dollars go towards lawsuits, sexual abuse claims, any of those kinds of things. That's already been taken care of. Plans have already been made around how that all is taken care of. I don't know all of those details. I don't have to, because I work on the appeal and none of the money goes there. So I don't know all of those details, but none of the money goes towards that or goes to support priests who maybe had been accused. Additionally, all of the money for the annual Catholic Appeal stays within the diocese, because that's the other one. The two big elephants in the room are, do you send it out to other places, and does it go towards lawsuits? And the answer on both of those is no.
1.7 million is where you say we're staying. It seems to have been at 1.7 million for a number of years now. But yet, it's different now. The 1.7 million is different now because we actually have to work at getting to that goal, right?
Yes.
Speak to how it's different from before.
In fact, that's the reason why it's called Annual Catholic Appeal now instead of Care and Share. With the old Care and Share appeal, we actually used this complicated equation to come up with an amount per parish that they needed to raise. And so they worked with their parishioners to try to raise that amount, but if they fell short, the church was actually assessed the difference between those two numbers. 2 years ago, Bishop Warfel and I sat down. He had been in conversation with several priests, and he was ready to basically switch over to becoming a true appeal, where we literally were just going to trust our Catholic family of Eastern Montana to give. And we were hoping we would get to 1.7 million. And I said, well, let's just rip off the Band-Aid and go for it. We changed the name of the appeal specifically to let people know that there had been a change. And that's the reason why we changed names. We wanted people to really clearly see when we had made the change. So we changed 2 years ago. We knew that we were probably going to take a hit that first year, and we did. We only actually raised 1.3 million. So we were $400,000 short, which we were able to cover through cutting back somewhat on our expenses, tightening up those bootstraps and trying to really make do with what we could make do. And last year, we actually did the best we've ever done. Our Catholic family of Eastern Montana came through in a very, very big way for us. And so in 2023, we actually raised 1.62 million. So now we were only down to $80,000 worth of tightening up the belt and all of that. However, at the same time, we are expanding services and we are growing programs. People are coming back to the church. And so it really becomes even more important that we're able to hit that 1.7. But the biggest difference, like I said, is that we no longer assess parishes if they don't raise that money. We just ask for Catholics across Eastern Montana to please give what they can, maybe push a little harder to give just a little bit more so that we can actually hit that goal and fund all of our programs.
Why was it so important to you and to Bishop Warfel at the time to make that shift from just the guaranteed money? We know what we need to run the chancery. Why not just guarantee that money as opposed to an authentic appeal? And is there ever a fear of us going back to the old way of, well, this way's just not working?
Well, so it's exactly what you said. It's an authentic appeal. We already have what's called the COF, which is the amount that each church pays for the business functions of the chancery or the pastoral center, whatever you want to call us. And that's a tax. Well, if we're telling parishes you have to raise this much money, that's really a tax. That's not an appeal. And so if we're going to call it an appeal, let's make it an appeal. The other thing is that we truly wanted people to give what they could give. We wanted people to give because they felt like it was the right thing to do. We wanted to show them the work that we're doing at a diocesan level so that they would want to support us. They would see the value of what it is that we're doing and how we're supporting their local church. And in turn, they would feel compelled to give. They would be honored to be able to support those programs. And so it was really important to make that switch. And for Bishop Fleming, it's important for him too that we continue moving forward with a true appeal. That said, the truth is that we need to be able to fund the chancery. We need to fund the diocesan programs. And so if we aren't meeting the basic needs of what we're not meeting that basic goal, then we are going to have to look at what do we change. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the annual Catholic appeal that's going to change, but we have to make sure that that money is coming in some way, shape, or form. And so as much as people don't always want to talk about money, sometimes we actually do need to talk about this is what it takes in order for a church to run, for the appeal. This is what it takes for the diocese to run.
What kind of trends did you see last year? I mean, we are being successful. in a down market, if you will, where other dioceses are really struggling with their appeals. What trends are you seeing, and why are we being so successful?
And that's so exciting. I'm glad you actually brought that up because it was one of the things that I actually got to talk about with other Catholic fundraisers across the United States, and really it was at an international conference. So I was talking to people from other countries, and they really were looking at us and saying, well, what are you doing different in Montana? Like, are you guys not experiencing the same financial hardships? No, we are. We absolutely are. I think that there were a couple of things. Number one, I think people have really appreciated that it is a true appeal. Number two, they've really appreciated the transparency. We are being very transparent. We will answer any question that anybody has about the appeal. We are letting them know up front, this is where the money goes, and this is what portion goes to Catholic schools. This is what portion goes to priests. This is what goes, we're going to answer all of those questions. And I think transparency is always an important one. But we're also starting to see that people, when they give, people are compelled to give more than what you might think. I was warned with one of the things that we had sent out that I told people, can you donate a cup of coffee? Can you just at least donate a cup of coffee to the appeal? And everybody told me, you're risking that people are only going to send you $5. And what we found is that 93% of our givers actually gave more than $25, and 87% gave greater than $50. This is unheard of. Our average gift was up to $451. And so what we saw is that we were getting a lot of new donors who were giving generously. They were pushing themselves to give just a little bit more. And so we're just really excited about the fact that people are really seeing the efforts that we're making, and they're responding well to that.
Those are fantastic numbers. But those $5 gifts are still important, right?
Absolutely. Every single dollar makes a difference. I mean, you get 10 people who each give $5, there's $50 right there. You make that 100 people who give $5. Now we're at $500 more. So every single gift matters. And for some people, I mean, Thomas, before I started here, I was a social worker for 25 years. I was there where I was not even living paycheck to paycheck, where if I would have given $5, that $5 for me would have probably been a bigger contribution and a bigger pull to my budget than some people who give $1,000. And so we know that not everybody is in the same situation. And so if $2 is all you can give, and you give that $2, well, that matters tremendously. One of the biggest things I said last year is that I wanted to focus on participation. Now, Bishop Jeff made the goal a little bit bigger than I would have, but I wanted to focus on participation because I knew that if every single one of us could give what we could, even if we give a little, we can accomplish a lot. And so if every single person was giving, all of a sudden we just might meet that goal. It doesn't have to be in $1,000 increments or $5,000 increments or even $50 increments. Every single dollar helps count towards that overall goal of 1.7 million.
Right now, we're facing announcement weekend. And so packets aren't even in homes and whatnot. What can we do right now while we're preparing for the appeal to start?
Well, I think the biggest thing is to prepare and really to prayerfully discern about what it is that you want to contribute to the annual Catholic appeal this year. And I think prayerful discernment is just so important, and it's something that we overlook. A lot of times something sprung on us and we just instantly respond, and then we move on with our day and we're not even giving it a second thought. So these next 2 weeks are your opportunity to really prayerfully think about what role and what commitment can you make to the church? How much can you afford? And once you decide how much you can afford, could you push it just a little bit more? Could it push to that level of sacrificial giving? If you've never given, maybe this year it's just a prayerful discernment that I've never given and this year I'm going to give. I don't care what amount you give. If this is your first year giving, please just give whatever amount you can. If you've been giving to the appeal, I hope that you'll continue to give, but maybe give just a little bit more. We were just 80,000 short of our goal. Just 80,000 short. If people give just a little bit more, we can actually get there. And if we get there and we go over, all of a sudden that starts opening up more support back to churches, back to schools, back to Catholic organizations. But the biggest thing that you can do right now is to pray for the success of the appeal and to start prayerfully discerning what your gift and your commitment can be to the appeal this year.
Becky, I'm going to give you about 15 seconds. What would you say to those who donated last year and who will take your call to prayer seriously right now to consider their gift for this year?
I want to first say thank you for the gifts that you made and for your generosity and your commitment to the Diocese of Great Falls-Billings and our ministries. We could not do this work without you, and it is your support that's going to allow us to continue those ministries and that good work. You are essential in helping us go make disciples.
Becky, thanks for sitting down and visiting with us today about the annual Catholic Appeal and the Go Make Disciples theme for this year.
Thank you so much.